Good afternoon, students. So now we'll be performing the experiment called natural convection. Okay. The objective of this experiment is to find the heat transfer coefficient during natural convection. The apparatus is as shown here. Okay. This is the metal rod. Using which we'll find the heat transfer coefficient. Okay, it can be done in two methods. One is the horizontal position as it is placed right now, and the other is the vertical position wherein you can change the position of the tube. So this is a chromium tube, okay, which can be changed its position, and in your objective we find experimentally and then also theoretically using data handbook calculations. So in addition to this tube setup here, we have the regular setup found in most of the other experiments, like the main switch turning it on, okay, and then we turn the heater on and so on, okay, and then we have the temperature knob using which we can find out the temperature across the various points along the surface. In addition to that, we also find the temperatures along the surface of this tube using various thermocouples as positioned on the surface of the tube, and then we take the average of these temperatures to find out the heat transfer coefficient. As in the case of most experiments, we wait for steady state to be reached, and hence once the steady state is reached, now we measure the temperature readings. So T1 presently as shown here is giving the ambient temperature. Now moving on to T2 gives the temperature along one of the points on the tube. Similarly, we change to T3, okay, T4 and then T5, and it keeps changing so on, okay, and once we get these readings we substitute them in the formula. So no other variations are done in this as such, and the only change happens next is once we change the position of the tube. Okay, coming now to the calculations. Okay, we just have to find at different positions what is the heat input, okay, and the temperature of the ambient and the temperature of the surface, and then calculate theoretically and experimentally. So the schematic is pretty much the same, just that we have this vertical position and horizontal position. So similarly, we find out the heat transfer coefficient experimentally, okay, by finding out all these temperatures, taking the mean and then substituting in the heat transfer formula, heat transfer coefficient formula, and then using data handbook, okay. Now a Grashof number comes into the picture here for natural convection, because there is no induced velocity, there is no forced velocity as in the case of forced convection, okay, and using these calculations and Nusselt number we find out the heat transfer coefficient theoretically, and then we try to compare the experimental and theoretical heat transfer coefficient for horizontal position and vertical position.